and it's quite breezy here this morning, and I thought maybe I should emulate, which seems to be the modus operandi now. The corporations go to the judiciary to rubber stamp the application. Now, yesterday I made the observation that we are, it would seem, living in a critarchy, which is rule by judges. But apparently there is another term that also means rule by judges, and I kid you not, it's called a dictocracy. So there you go. I guess we living in a dictocracy. We'll see how that one goes down in the High Court in a couple of weeks. Well, I guess stock price isn't too healthy right now. Literally 4.5 years ago, when we were on Barton Moss, based on the current price of the stock price was up around 3,000 pence. That's £30. But today it's wallowing at £1.10. Actually, it was £1.40 4 years ago, and so it should be about 5.5 pence today. But of course, a little while ago, they reissued the stock on the basis of 1 for every 20 to make it look like you were getting something reasonable for your money, which of course you're not. And it probably isn't too long before iGas actually start to engage in the tactics of David Lenigas. Well, David Lenigas, of course, is associated with UCOG, not with iGas. And Lenigas is a fluffer. He's bought in to literally fluff the stocks of a dog company, and he's paid an enormous amount of money for basically fake news, fake PR, and the money comes rolling in from mug punter investors, believing that this time next year they'll be millionaires, and of course then they lose their everything. And Lenigas walks away with his bank account looking much healthier. So I think it's time that the name Lenigas, or the word Lenigas, entered into the British vocabulary. So I'm going to start the ball rolling here, and then obviously maybe in the comments you can put some of your own ideas forward. But we'll start with, I've just stepped in some Lenigas. I think I'm going for a Lenigas. Things along these lines. I think that people need to understand that the name Lenigas is associated with something that isn't particularly pleasant. And I would actually encourage people to research the relationship between David Lenigas and Asia Energy, and particularly Asia Energy's activities in Bangladesh. Now, there's a relationship here that goes back over a decade, and it seems that when Asia Energy were looking to establish a coal mining operation in Bangladesh, then Lenigas, who recently threatened the protectors at Horse Hill, where it seems that one of the activists in Bangladesh met with a very mysterious car accident. This is Nazreen Huq, and this is over 12 years ago now, but she was very active in resisting Asia Energy's attempts to establish a massive coal mine in the border areas of Bangladesh. And sadly, she, having been warned off, decided that she was going to maintain her campaign, and then met with a mysterious accident. And of course, Lenigas never shows any remorse, and he's always trotted out to make such comments as, well, these are just extremists who don't like investment from foreign companies. Well, maybe they're just people who actually have a desire to maintain the beauty of their home country. And here in the UK, of course, that's exactly the case with people who are doing everything they possibly can to prevent this obscene industry of unconventional hydrocarbon exploitation from becoming established here in the UK. From a personal perspective, this is iGas, and iGas have a number of activities, particularly in the south of the UK, where they're abstracting conventional hydrocarbons. And from a personal perspective, I don't have a particular issue with that. I can certainly argue the case that we have never needed hydrocarbons in anything like the volume that they're produced, but that's a different issue. And the reality is that the hydrocarbon-driven economy is in its twilight years. Unfortunately, those twilight years might last a little bit longer than most people might like, but nonetheless, certainly by the middle of this century, it's unlikely that hydrocarbons are going to be playing anything like the role in the global economy that they do today. But unconventional hydrocarbons are a completely different ballgame. And certainly in the UK, there's absolutely no need. Everybody watching this knows. And of course, Claire Perry, in her outrageous speech at the permitted development debate at Westminster Hall last Wednesday, alluded to the fact, well, it's not a fact, alluded to the lie that the only opposition to unconventional hydrocarbons, i.e. fracking, are a travelling circus of protesters. Yet, of course, in reality, it's primarily local communities supported by people who have the time and the motivation to support those local communities, which is why, you know, yesterday I was at Balcombe, today I'm at Miston Springs, and no doubt I shall be at other locations in the coming weeks. Not least, of course, in the commercial courts in London on Tuesday the 2nd of October to challenge the iGas injunction. In fact, what I shall be trying to challenge is the whole situation where the commercial courts are effectively establishing a raft of legislation which is above and beyond parliamentary law. So if people are still under the illusion that they live in a democracy, hopefully, I think this is the 5th or the 6th injunction that these companies are seeking, hopefully people will start to realise that actually it's a myth. We don't live in a democracy. We live in a corporatocracy that is aided by the critically and the dictocracy of rule by judges. So, you know, it's all there. All you got to do is open your eyes. And of course, you know, people don't want to see it until they see it. And that's absolutely the case here at Miston Springs, where, you know, the well site here is about a couple of miles or so away from the village. The traffic's not permitted to go through the village. So a number of people in the village just said, well, you know, it's not really our problem. It's not actually right in my backyard, so I can choose to ignore it. But over the last few months, many of those people have been doing their own research and are now beginning to realise the magnitude of the threat. It's not just one well site here at Miston Springs and another well site at Tinker Lane about 7 miles away, or INEOS well sites at Woodsets, at Marsh Lane and Hart Hill. This is just the start if this industry manages to get a foothold. So it is really quite breezy here, and hopefully the mufflers are working on the microphones here, but it's gusting probably at about 30 to 40 mile an hour, and apparently this is the tail end of one of the hurricanes that's making its way across the Atlantic. But nonetheless, the temperature is really quite pleasant. So down in Miston Springs, there's a fire burning, there's a brew on the go. It's on the verge, so it's not in the injuncted area. And of course, do bear in mind that at the moment, the only thing that's covered by the injunction is effectively any attempt to delay iGas from getting their infrastructure on site. It seems that protest in this democracy is limited now to standing on the side of a road and waving a placard. So in other words, it's no real protest at all, is it? Anyway, I'm going to go get a brew, and yeah, thank you for those people who are already clogging up my my feeds today. But anyway, it is much appreciated, and I will be back tomorrow at 8:30 at a unconventional gas well site somewhere in the north of England. You have a great day, and I'll catch you tomorrow.